ready to learn with us on Bash University Live. Bash University Live starts now. Good morning. Welcome to Bash University Live. We've got one of our boys with us. Zack Birge is going to be with us today, fresh off of some back-to-back wins, some dominant fishing. Riz, when he's winning, it's a power bait, man. It's always power fishing.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's not put him in a box. Zack can catch him every way that they can be caught. We've definitely seen him shine when there's when there's some power fishing techniques going on. But yeah, man, it's exciting. I mean, if there's one guy on on the professional tour right now that embodies power fishing, I would have to say it's Zack in all aspects. So it's a fun conversation. So.
Well, it seems to be the wave of what's going on right now. We've got Jason Christie fresh off of a power fishing win, getting his 9th win on the Bassmasters. That's incredible that he has that many, not including his wins over at MLF. So he's
Oklahoma, stand up. I mean, I'm telling you, the Oklahoma anglers are just
getting it
top
done
right now.
Yep, and we've got the Arkansas River next in line for those guys. Likely going to be, another meat stick dominating tournament situation. So it's really going on right now. It's fun to see.
Bass Pro Tour is heading to their Red Crest next as well, Pete. That's they're getting ready for their big dance on the Bass Pro Tour. I believe that's at Table Rock. I want to say Zack can correct me when he comes back on here, but that's exciting to have going on as well, man. So,
yep. And we I want to give a shout out to my buddy Scott Dobson, who we saw at the Classic. He stopped by.
He was there.
He did. He stopped in the booth. Say hello.
And I must have been producing a seminar. I did not get to see Scott. I like Scott.
Yeah, Scott's a stick up on the Northern Lakes, anywhere really, but up there in particular. Yeah. And he just sent me a picture of like a 6'7". It's funny. Smallmouth is 6 and change. Just a beautiful smallie that they're catching up there in 30-degree water temperatures. Wow. 30 degrees up there in the north, and they're fishing. Likely post spawn in some of the tournaments down south. So it's funny how this time of year the patterns are kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But one of the patterns that's extremely consistent is my total domination of fantasy fishing, which is important to note. I say that because me and Justin are going toe to toe, and I'm stretching out my lead right now, Riz. I got a nice stride going on. I'm getting it done.
Yeah. Don't be so shy about it, Pete. I mean, just if you're dominating, I mean, hey.
I had a perfect score at Lake Martin, which was pretty cool. And it's fun with fantasy fishing because it's like a lot of the times I'm picking just guys that work for Bass University because I know their teachings, I know their seminars, I know what they're really good at. So, a lot of times I look at the bodies of water, kind of anticipate the winning strategies for those types of things, and then lean on our content to make my picks. It's working. That's my strategy, guys. Nothing special. And here's the other strat. And this is key. For gut instinct, make your picks and walk away. Right. Do not get tempted. Do not look at social media posts. Do not, get involved with any of the doc talk. Forget about it, man. Make your picks and live and die by them.
Hey, pick with confidence, fish with confidence. That's what Bash University does.
That's what Bass University does. Exactly. Good morning, Scott, and Howie is with us this morning.
Yeah.
Depp Bass, good to have you guys with us. Yeah. We're excited. We've got a guy that we've had on the show a number of times, and and it's just so exciting to see them win
Yeah.
and catch fire and get some momentum going.
Yeah.
So let's bring them on after fresh back-to-back wins in different tournament trails, MLF and NPFL, and he continues to do well, following it up with a nice another MLF dominant top 10 performance. So good to have you with us, Zach. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, guys. I appreciate you having me again.
It's great to have you, man. I'm like last time. Is it the tornado luck charms? What's going? Last time the tornadoes were rolling when you won, I think down on Lake Eufaula. Was that the luck charm that's keeping this going again for you? What's going on?
Man, it can't be the tornadoes this time because we haven't had any yet. But no, it's I've been catching a lot of fun grief about my sunglasses being good luck. So I had to throw those on. Kind of funny story with it. My wife, she says I can't take you. She said I can't take you serious with those on, like just joking about it, whatever. And I was kind of like, damn, I think she's serious. But I bought them off I bought them off of TikTok one night. I think I'd had a couple beers and bought these $17 yellow sunglasses. And I went hunting, actually. This was back like December. I went hunting to a place where the water temperature was warm, but the air temperature was just brutal cold. So the fog, it was making fog and it was freezing on me. And I was like, man, I need to get some sunglasses. Well, I didn't have any with me except for these. So I threw these on and took off driving. I was like, man, I can see really good. Not getting any of that freezing, fog on my eyelids or anything like that. So I wore them shooting too, and I shot good with them. I said, man, these things are pretty nice. So I went fishing with them one day, and I was like, I could see in the water really good with these too. Um, no diss on anything, but I got a $300 pair of sunglasses in my boat, and I can see just as good with these as I can with those. It's the craziest thing. It sounds dumb, but $17 pair of sunglasses off TikTok, and they've been pretty good luck this year. I've won two events with them, and I've caught them pretty good. So I'm gonna keep wearing them at least until I bomb one. Then I can say, oh, they're not good luck anymore, and toss them.
Dude, I'd wear them to church, to the gym, to wherever you go, man. They're not coming off.
Yeah, they're good luck right now.
That's pretty awesome. All right, well, we gotta keep those luck charms going. We'll be watching. We'll be holding you to that when we watch the upcoming shows. We want to see those glasses, man.
Yep, I'll have them for sure till the luck runs out. Then I'll come up with some other thing I think is good luck.
Dude, I don't know. I think guys like you, luck seems to find them, and it's definitely finding you at the top of the leaderboard, and you've had two stellar events back to back. Man, that's got to feel awesome. I mean, you're at the top of your game right now. Let's dive into it, man. The first one, did the MLF tournament, that was the first win, or was that after the NPFL?
That was the first one. That was the week prior.
Yeah, that was down at the Harris Chain.
That the second one was at Harris Chain. That was NPFL.
I'm getting them all mixed up. Yes, you were in Texas. You were in Texas for the MLF. So
Texas, Whitney, and Waco.
Yeah, that was a shallow water power deal. How did that go down?
Yeah, I've never been to those places. And every day was a little bit different. Practice started out pretty strong, which is not normally a good thing for me. I feel like if I've got good practices, it kind of locks things in my head, and I don't venture and, test other things, kind of try other stuff, and kind of get so locked in and keyed in on what's going good that I, lose focus of, okay, what else can I do? What else can I try? Things like that. But anyways, it started out good practice. I chose to spend 3 days on Whitney for practice instead of going one day to Waco. I just wanted to cover all the lake, the river, everything I felt could be necessary to catch fish. And day 3 of practice, I actually found 2 little creeks that had a lot of bait in them, a lot of bass swimming around. You could see them. They were chasing bait, breaking on them and stuff. So I started both days, the first 2 days of that tournament, actually, I was running back into those pockets and throwing a minnow and a koiki around, catching those fish just for one period. And then the first morning, first day of that event, after that was over, I took off to my shallow stuff and I went throwing a chatterbait around, and I caught him pretty good in the afternoon doing that. Day 2, I did the same thing to start off, but the wind was going to be just ripping in the afternoon. It was about a 20-minute run I was going to have to make, and it was going to be pretty rough. I told my official, I was like, man, if we can start off strong today and I can catch 4 or 5, get to where I've got a safe little margin from the cut, and it looks like I can make it to Waco, then we'll just hang tight and we'll stay locked in this creek and just fish. And that's kind of what happened. I caught 4 or 5 pretty early, and then I said, let me just slow down. I'll fish my way out of here. As I was fishing in, looking at the area with active target 2, I could see, a lot of bait, a lot of fish, especially on the bluff walls that morning. There were a bunch of them that were on those swings, just real tight to the rocks. So when our first period was over and we had to turn our forward facing off, I just went back down it with a Cinco, real slow, just weightless. I was sliding it as close as I could to the rocks and just letting it free fall. It was like 20 foot deep, but I just let it fall for 10, 15 seconds and I just go to start shaking it. And I started catching them pretty good. I actually caught them better than I did on day 1, power fishing up shallow stuff, with chatterbait. And so I got through that pretty easy. And then Waco, I didn't go practice. All I did was go look at it on maps and kind of study how the place laid out, what it looked like. I rigged up an enormous amount of rods to have ready. And when you haven't practiced somewhere, you got to catch them quick. You got to have every option ready to rock and roll as soon as you get there. And um, I started off. I had a place in mind I was going, and I was looking at the weather leading up to it also, because we had a really hard south wind for a few days. So I was thinking, well, if we got a really hard south wind, some of this part of the lake could probably be blown out, stirred up some. So I was thinking, well, maybe I need to fish the south end of the lake to start because it would have been cleaner. But that morning of day 3 on Waco, the first morning on Waco, the wind was going to shift out of the north and blow really hard. So I was also processing like, okay, if I go to the south end, the wind's going to start ripping. It could blow that out on me while I'm fishing. So I looked back to the north end of the lake and I was looking for anything that could have been protected from that really hard south wind. And I found one pond up there that looked cleaner on the map, and it looked like it had a lot of cover, maybe a little deeper water in there. So this is where I ultimately want to get to today. So I ran all the way up that direction. And as I got up there, there was a big wall of sticks and stuff. I thought, well, let me just go in this little bitty pocket that's right here to the right, start. And I picked up a buzzbait and caught a 3.5 real quick. It's like, all right, So I slowed down, started picking everything apart, went a while without a bite. And as I'm coming out to go idle that direction towards that pond, I look to my left and there's like 100 birds down the bank, like, the white birds. And I'm thinking, man, there could be some bait. There could be a shad spawn going on down through here, maybe.
Sure.
So let me just fish down this stretch real quick. I'm just trying to keep an open mind and fish what looks right, what feels right. And that did. And like my second cast going down there, I hook a big one and she breaks me off on a limb. I was like, dang. So then that kind of got me fired up for it. I kept going down through. I fished the whole thing and caught one more little one. Thought, well, this ain't going to cut it. So let's go back towards that pond. Well, I'd got in there and I got in some sticks and stuff, had my jack plate all the way up. I turned to power out of there and take off, and I can't get it to go down. It popped the breaker, and I couldn't find the breaker at the time. So I got up on plane and I could make it about 75 yards and my temperature would get hot. So it'd shut me down. I'd get up, it'd shut me back down. Get up, shut me back down. So it took like 10 of those cycles to finally get back to the sticks where I had to pick my way through to get back there. And when I did, I thought, you know what, I'll just fish my way back there instead of idling. It was only like 1.5 feet, 2 foot deep. Fish my way back there, catch 2 or 3 little ones, and when I finally got in there, I went to catching them good. When I came in, I saw Edwin was over to the left, so I just went to the right. I stayed on the right side the rest of the day. He stayed on the left side. We both caught a ton of fish. So, that was obviously the most predominant thing that happened that day. I ended up, I think we were both first and second. So obviously I'm going back there on the final day, and, I put a bunch of rods up, I just stuck with what I was confident, what I caught pretty much all those fish on, to start day 4. And, and as soon as we both got in there, Edwin came through the sticks and got in front of me, and then he went left, I went right, and I stayed on that right side, and until he left, like towards the middle end part of the second period. Once he left, I went ahead and started making, laps around the whole thing. But it was pretty much a one bait show in there, just a white 1/4 ounce swim jig. I got one right here too. This is the swim jig I threw and pretty much
Oh yeah.
caught all my fish on, and that's just a 1/4 ounce. This is a Lethal Weapons, just a
Okay.
1/4 ounce white swim jig, and the trailer. It's a just, I think they call it platinum white. It's a bongo crawl. That bait right there is what I caught pretty much every bass on over 2 days in there, until that final day. The wind slacked off, the sun came out, and I flipped a little bit. I caught a few good ones doing that. Um, but what was cool about that place was, in that start of the third period time frame, there was a shad spawn that would take off middle of the day. It was pretty wild to see it, but it was like clockwork. I noticed it on day 3. They started busting in the sticks, and I was hearing them, and then I started seeing little pods of shad that were spawning on those willows. So it kept me in there on day 3 to keep watching for that. And sure enough, I had a pretty slow second period. I caught some big ones, but I only caught like 4. But as I was sitting there on break waiting to start fishing again, those shad started spawning. You could hear the fish in the bushes starting to eat them, like busting on them. I thought, all right, it's about to take off again. And it was pretty evident when I took off that third period. I got bit quick, started getting more bites, and it was pretty much history after that.
Now that's
That,
kind
that
of that the shad spawn was happening later on into the day, right? I've never fished around a shad spawn, so I know nothing. But I feel like that's usually a early morning deal, right?
Yeah, that's normally a, first hour of the day, hour and a half or so, and then, it fades. I've only seen it happen like 3 or 4 times where I've been fishing, and, middle of the day, some kind of shad spawn starts, and I can't personally tell you why. I don't know.
Yeah.
I try to be aware of what's going on around me, so when it happens, I notice it. But
Yeah.
I can't tell you the right reason why they do it sometimes in the middle of the day like that versus early in the morning like you generally always see it.
Yeah.
But it was like a light switch. When it would happen, the fish would start feeding on them. I mean, and it was just biting like crazy again.
Can you elaborate a little bit on, you said in the sticks, like they were the shad were spawning around the sticks. Is that what they were doing?
Yeah. So
Elaborate,
there
like,
was a
what are the sticks? Like, is it piled up like junk, like trash, or like what is that?
Yes. So what I gathered after the event was over was the lake had been down like, I don't know, 10 foot or so for a long time.
Oh, okay.
So back in this little pond area,
Mm.
there's basically like a rim ditch that went around the whole pond. And the only thing that makes sense to me is those willows grew up thick on that little high spot in the middle, basically, that you would fish all the way around.
Right.
They grew up, they're probably 6 to 10 foot tall willows in there, and they're literally stacked like, here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. They're just thick through there. And then the lake got up like 20 foot high. So I'm assuming a bunch of them died off because there was a lot that had fell over, were like, just crossed up. You really couldn't. There's very few little gaps where you could skip a bait into them. They were so thick.
Right.
So of course you got the dead ones that are all laying over. You got some that are alive. A lot of the twigs and branches coming off of them were greening up. So you had a leafy vegetation right on the top, and just millions of branches and stuff that they could just get on and do their thing. And
Yeah.
that's basically what all the shad were around. And the bass were, there's no telling how many bass were back in there I couldn't get to, because you could hear them busting, but you can't catch them until they get around the edge or something.
Now that I'm starting to like visualize what you were working with there, and something that stands out to me is that you said there's a rim ditch and there's a high spot in the middle of that pond, and like typically when there's a shad spawn going on around the bank, like I said, I've never fished a shad spawn, but I would orient that with shade. Like I feel like it's a shade. Do you think it was because the sun angle needed to get up to a certain point to create that shade for them to do their thing under it, or?
Interesting.
You could think that. The only thing I would say that would counter that thought process would be the day before, because it was pretty much cloudy all day.
Okay.
But it was the same kind of time frame though. That right around the third periods when it started. But it was cloudy that day, and then day 4 it did it again, but it was sunny and still. It was almost dead slick in there.
What time of day was it, Zach? Like into the third period? Like how late were we getting?
That would have been 1:45-ish.
Wow.
2 o'clock. Yeah, wow. That's when it got going.
Interesting.
I wonder if the species matter, and this is something that I'm continuing to learn and study about is, the threadfin versus the gizzard shad. The time of day that they get active doing that kind of stuff seems to be different at times. But nonetheless, yeah, I just like you, Rich. I'm like, man, middle of the day, the shad spawn, taking advantage of that was huge. It's funny, Zach, as you're talking and you're talking about even at your practice, you're following birds, following motion. You did the same thing that you follow, where you're following that life and making your adjustments based on what you're seeing on your sonar, basically you're seeing with your eyes. You're just following your instincts and following fish life.
Yeah, and that's I kind of attribute that to a lot of towards the end of the year last year. I kind of got on like a little hot streak. I ended the year well. And then this year we started off, Gunnersville was good. Hartwell was good. In all of those events, it changed a little bit every day. Like day by day was different. I didn't have, I can say I didn't have good practices, but when I say I don't have a good practice, obviously it means I didn't catch a ton, but also like I sample a lot of stuff. Like I try this, I try that, test different baits and things out to see if, one's more predominant than the other. Colors, I play with colors all day. But I like those kind of practices though, because it doesn't get me locked in on something, and it lets me keep an open mind every single day. So day 1, obviously, of the tournament, we want to start out strong. We want to get dialed in quick, and then we want to progressively follow what's going on and changes and try to make, necessary adjustments as the tournament moves forward. And, that's basically what I can attribute to the success I've had lately, is just being able to stay on top of that stuff and make good decisions when it matters.
Right. That progression.
Yep.
It's such a beautiful thing when you fall into rhythm with the fish as the event is happening, like in real time. And it's so interesting that you say that, Zach, because we talked about him at the beginning of the show here. Congrats to Jason Christie on another win. He is notorious. It's burned into my memory when Jason said this several years ago at a Bass University, that he does not like to get dialed in to the nth degree in practice. He wants to figure it out as it's going. And it's just unique that, a couple of Oklahoma boys kind of thinking the same way and rattling off wins at the same time of year. Something there, things are changing certain times of year.
Yeah. That makes me feel good. I didn't hear Christy say that, but that makes me think that my mind's on the right path, because he's had a lot more success than I have, and he's a lot more established than I am. So at least I'm following a good path here.
Yep. You are. You're gaining on him. And he doesn't have those glasses. So now you may catch them.
I do got the glasses advantage right now, I feel like.
Talk to me more. The jig choice was a quarter ounce,
Yeah.
and that was an interesting. That caught me as interesting. Like 3/8 most common, I would say. Why'd you go super light? Is that something you typically do?
So it was really shallow in there, one. So, I didn't want the bait to get down
Yep.
towards the bottom. And there was a lot of places where there was twigs and just old dead trees that were floating around in there too. Like I caught my two biggest fish off the same tree in there. I caught like a 512 and a 5.7 or something off the same tree. And both times I threw it past the tree and I in there, I was strictly just reeling it. I wasn't pumping it or kind of floating it around. I was just chunking and winding, and I'd reel it up to that tree. And both times, as it would, obviously it was down a little lower as it was coming up to it and crawling up to the tree. Both times the fish came up and ate it. And a lot of the fish in there were busting on top. You could hear them in their sticks busting on top. So I didn't want a bait that was
Get too low.
going to get down. I wanted it up because I felt like that's what they were, that's how they were looking to eat. So I threw a quarter ounce in there. It was light with that trailer. This trailer, and it flaps like incredibly well, just barely swimming it. And that, I mean, all it has is two appendages off the back, and I could just keep it up high and just reel it. And the fish, I mean, they were eating it like, there was one clip where I threw it over a limb and I missed the fish like 3 times, and she finally came back and got it. They were just coming right up to it, eating it like a topwater. So, if something would have changed and they would have got off of it, maybe I would have tried, a different weight or getting it down more. But in there, and I typically do throw like a 5/16 or a 3/8 more often than a quarter. But when it's super shallow like that, I want to keep it high. I stick to a quarter. When we got to Florida, I threw a 5/16 and a 3/8. The water there was a little bit deeper, but I was also throwing it around some mats and stuff. But that kind of stuff, it was more swimming it like down a little bit versus right on the top. And then this week too, it was a little bit deeper. It was like 5-6 foot around the sticks at Ivy that I was catching them. So I was throwing the 5/16 pretty much the whole tournament. I threw a 3/8 the day the wind blew really hard, just so I could make a little bit more accurate cast and keep a lot of bow out of my line when I would make those casts.
When you were fishing it specifically around the sticks and the trees, Zach, were you running fluoro or braid?
I've been throwing straight braid for the past month. 40 pound, just a 40 pound super braid, Yozuri super braid. And that's probably my favorite size all around too, because it's really strong. If you go down a little bit lighter, like 20 or so, you would have a chance at maybe popping it on, you get a little bit of abrasion. You can't really see. There's times when that could pop, but man, that 40 it's super strong, but it's slightly smaller than 50 to 65 that a lot of guys would throw. I feel like that sometimes helps me get a few more bites as well, and the fish maybe aren't as line shy. That water in there was actually fairly clear. Like there's a lot of times when I would be going around that ditch where I could look down and see the bottom. So I had trolling motor on like 5 or 6, just easing it around through there real quiet, making long casts down those lanes that I was going down. And then when I'd get to where it was a little more open, I could pick around the sticks and stuff. And just straight 40-pound braid and crack a whip when they bite it.
I like it. The big question is, like, we watched Bill Lowen. Bill Lowen just had some good recently done well swimming, like steady retrieve, and you got the Alabama shake. What is the according to Zack Birge, what is the way to retrieve the swim jig? The correct way.
Well, let's go off of just the past 3 weeks, because the correct way for me, and it worked out pretty good, I would say, was just a straight retrieve. Just chunk and wind. there's times when like yesterday, for instance, I did have, and the day before, I caught a couple on the swim jig, and I was around boat docks though, so I would skip it up under a slip or in a little gap, and I would let it fall for a second. I'd just hop it up and let it, I'd just kind of give it like 2 or 3 hops, and then I would just start swimming it. And a lot of times on that first hop, a jolt of lightning would hit my rod, and bite, catch him. Sometimes it'd be just swimming it out past the corner of the slip. So there's no right or wrong way, but it comes back to, what do the fish want? How do the fish want it? So you got to keep it honest and try a little bit of everything. But for me, the past 3 weeks, it's been cover a ton of water and make a million casts a day, it seems like. And the fastest way to do that is chunking line.
Well, it's that was fantastic. That was a big win, big celebration. Is there what else went down in Texas? Because you had to get busy to head to Florida pretty soon after that.
Yeah, I went pretty much straight to Florida. Went home for like 2 days, regrouped my stuff, and we went to Florida. We had the first NPFL stop down there at Harris Chain. So, same kind of deal. Three days of practice there. We get 3 days at those tournaments. Practice wasn't fantastic. I certainly didn't think that what I was doing was going to win. But I knew I could catch. I was thinking I was going to catch like 15, 16 pounds a day, but not get a ton of bites. And truthfully, I thought Jordan was going to win. He had like 28 the first day, and he was fishing offshore in some hydrilla. And I really thought, after seeing the fish and seeming like most of them were post spawn, not seeing a lot of spawners in canals or on the bank anywhere, I thought he was going to blow it out. I really thought that he was going to win that tournament, being that he was fishing out around some clean hydrilla, getting plenty of bites. And for whatever reason, it just faded on him. I don't know if boat traffic and that kind of stuff affected it, but it got tough. And I threw a swim jig down there too. That's what I caught. I caught several on a chatterbait one day, but mostly it was the swim jig, and predominantly, especially the last day, it's what I caught everything on. And it's same. This is the exact swim jig too. I grabbed it out of my boat. It's missing a bunch of strands of skirt material, but same trailer, just a little different color. I think this is California 420 is what they call it. This is a 5/16. And then the trailer is just, kind of a natural. It's got like kind of a candy color. I don't even know what they call it, but it matched good. It looked great in the water. And same deal though. I was just paralleling banks and canals and just a steady retrieve. If there was a mat, I would try to throw it either on the mat or just in a little lane of opening that I could bring it through. And most of the fish would bite it as it would come off the mat or come off a stick or something that was laying around those canals, some grass. Same thing though, just trying to target anywhere that looked like a bass could be laying. I would throw to, just quick cast, hit the next thing that looked good. Anywhere a bass looked like it should be laying, I was trying to get a cast to, 2 or 3 casts. And a lot of my fish too came from just paralleling the canal, just making a long cast and just bringing it, down the edge. And some of those fish may have been on beds I couldn't see. The water was real dark. It was clean, but dark. I couldn't see down there. It was a little bit deeper. And I keep watching, I keep replaying this one in my head. I saved the video clip of it. That first big one I caught the last day, I had one fish at 12:30, 12:45. And I'm trying different things, trying different places. And I go in this last canal before I lock back out of the lake. And I said it, I don't normally catch that many fish in there. I definitely have never caught any good ones, but it was a last ditch effort, last place that I could go to before I went back to the other lakes. And fishing down through there, some scattered pads, it was a little more open in the stretch, and I'm swimming that swim jig, and I see one come out, eat it. It's like a 2.5. Kind of gets me fired back up. I know that's got to be my smallest fish at the end of the day. So we got 2 now. Probably 1 o'clock. I throw up on top of this mat, and this is the clip I was talking about. I swim it off of it, and I'm bringing it out, and I see the whole mat move, huge wakes coming up behind it, and I literally can see the fish coming at it, and I just crank it down like half a notch, like just slow it down a touch, and she just engulfs the jig, and I hit her, and she was a 6-pounder, boat flipped her. Like 3 casts later, I throw to the other side of the canal, catch one, pretty much 4. Like, golly, here we go. Like, we're putting it together now. And I went from a 110 at 12:30 to almost 17 pounds in like an hour and a half. And I turned out of there, went down the canal, stopped on a stretch, caught another like 210, gave me 3 or 4 more ounces, locked out of that lake, pulled up to a grass stretch I hadn't hit yet because of the wind. But I knew there should be some fish in there. So like second or third cast, catch another like 212, gives me another 3 or 4 ounces. And, I ended up winning by 5 ounces to Todd that day. And I said it to the camera guy I had, I was like, every ounce is going to count today because, I had a 5.5 pound lead, but I didn't have a big bag. I had a good bag, but not, one of those 20 pluses like I had 2 days before. So I knew there was a chance if somebody caught 24, 26, they could pass me. And Todd got it, he got real close to doing that. He had 2 really big bags the last 2 days. But the ounces mattered there that day, but the fish that actually won the tournament for me was on day 2. I ran all the way back to takeoff and I fished for like 2 hours. I had a good bag, so I just went back to kill some time, and I had like a 2.7 was my small fish that day, and I couldn't get rid of her. And I'm fishing. I'm on the island right by takeoff. Like I'd looked down at my watch and said, man, I got like 4 minutes left and we have got to run across to check-in. And I said, all right, 1 more cast. And I'm in a cast right now as I say that. And when cast came out of my mouth, it locked up and I pulled, and I was like, oh, big one. And I horsed her to the boat, got my hand on her, got her in. It was like a 5.5, 5 3/4. I dumped her in the well, threw the small one out, threw it in gear, and I got back over there with like 30 seconds to spare. And truthfully, that's the fish that won the tournament. Because if, a lot of times we're fishing a tournament like that, and we have 5 or 10 minutes left, and we're fishing, and, we don't catch any, or we feel like, I got a good bag, let's just go in. If I had done that day, I would not have caught that big one, Nicole, at the last second that pretty much won me the tournament, because I would have been down by 2 pounds, to Todd there, probably 2.5 pounds. He would have beat me by the following day when it was all said and done. So I there's times when I've done it multiple times where I'm like, all right, 10 minutes, hell with it. Let's call it a day. We'll go in. You don't make those final, 10, 15 casts that you can squeeze in, but man, that was a good example of why you cast till the very last second.
Yeah,
no doubt.
What happened on the final day? What happened on the final day? You couldn't get to one of your areas.
Yeah. I was boat 1 the last day, so I was all amped up, excited, adrenaline's going. We're ripping down the lake, go through the first canal, go through the second lake, get through the door canal, go through the other lakes, get to the lock. And there was people saying that there was like a bunch of local tournaments going on that last day we were there. And I was like, dadgum, I wonder how many boats we're going to see. Wonder how many people are going to go to a Apopka. And I get to the lock, and there's like 7 boats in front of me, local guys. And as I was going to the lock, there was 2 local boats that ran past me the other way. And I was like, golly, this isn't good. Like this, I'm already getting like bad vibes. And I get there, 3 guys, the first 3 guys were locking up. There was another set of 3 that were locking up after them. And I was the 3rd boat in the 3rd set of guys that were going to lock up. And right before we got our time to lock, some debris got stuck in the lock, so they had to open it back up, cycle the water again, dump the water back out of it to get us in. So that was another like 15 or 20 minutes we had to wait. So it ended up costing me like probably an extra 45 minutes or so to physically get to Apopka. Whereas if I was boat one and got there first, I could have probably got in there, early and got out quick. And when we came out, I'm running through the canal following those other two guys that were in front of me. And they're, I'm just kind of staying behind them, trying to make sure they're not going to stop in front of me or where they're going to go. And we're weaving in and out of all these boats that are fishing through the canal. And in my head, I'm constantly thinking like, golly, there's going to be people down there fishing. Somebody's going to be in there. Locals going to be fishing it. And I'm ripping down the lake, and I'm getting down there close, and I'm going to turn to make my way in the entrance. And as I'm getting closer, I'm noticing there's boats everywhere. There's like 3 or 4 local boats on one side, 3 or 4 local boats on the other side of the entrance, this little bitty entrance in these reeds. And there's a guide boat sitting there with corks. I'm sure they were throwing shiners or something. And I slide around the corner, and when I do, I see the buoys that were up against the reeds. They're back across the canal again. So I had to throw it in neutral to keep from running over the cable, because it's like a little quick turn, and then there they are. And so I threw it in neutral. It fell down. I threw it in reverse to stop. I was like, damn. I said, well, we can't do this. Like, I can't alter the buoys in any way. So I said, plan A is done. Let's go to plan B. So I turned around. I ran straight across the pocket to the south and went flipping to an area where I caught some good ones in practice down there. I was pretty excited about it. Honestly, when I got down there, it was slick, calm, and I could pick it apart. And I caught a small one that probably would have kept. I just tossed it back. I caught 2 or 3 small ones, caught a 110, and that was the only one I had for a keeper for till 12:30. And I tried getting in another little pond over there. I got in it, but it was real shallow, just a bunch of trash fish in the back of it. Nothing, never caught a bass. Got back out of it, went over to another canal to try to get in. There was buoys up across it. Well, I can't go in there. So I tried fishing a stretch of reeds that had real clean water on it, looked good. Nothing. Fish them offshore grass, eelgrass and stuff, nothing. I said, well, our best bet's to meander our way back and try to time it to where we can lock down about 2:30, 2:45. And as I'm going back towards the canal, I'm thinking, maybe I should just dip in this other canal that's at the mouth of it and just give it a shot. The one I don't normally catch fish out of, or that many, and or any good ones for that matter. And it's a good decision to go in there, because as soon as I did, I got a few bites, and I caught majority of my weight right there. And
Wow.
I very easily could have spun out, lost my head and all that. But, I was trying to constantly keep an open mind to, all right, where can I go? Where can I go catch a good one? I had a couple more canals that were just the other side of the lock that I caught some good ones on a Cinco. So in my head at that time, I was pretty excited to get in there and fish those, because I knew if I went back, I'd have plenty of time to fish them. But right before that, I went in this other one. I caught that weight I had. So by the time I got out of there and got locked back down, time was getting shorter, and that's what made me just go hit that grass stretch in Dora. Caught a couple there that helped me, and that was pretty much the last fish I caught of the day.
You got the buoys were up. Is this what happened? Did you dive into that a little bit? Like overnight, they put buoy lines up. Did you have to call the tournament director to see what you could do or what you couldn't do? Were you shocked by this?
Oh yeah, I was shocked, because originally what happened was, if you go down from there like another 150, 200 yards, there's a good patch of reeds that I caught a good amount of fish out of. And that's where I was headed the first day. And I'm running down through there, and I just glance over to my left, and I noticed the buoys were up against the reed line. And we had, what I had thought was, when I started processing everything, was we had a really bad storm that came through, with winds that were, I got off the water before it hit, but the winds were blowing, I don't know, probably blowing 30 sustained when I got off the lake. Like the white caps were rolling into just constant white caps. The top of the water looked white from all the white caps that were blowing across the lake. And when I loaded up and put my cover on, was headed back to the house, the actual front hit, and it had to be 50, 60 plus gusts that came through there. So after was going to that starting spot and looked over and saw that they were up against the reeds, I said, shoot, I'm gonna slide in there. So I did a U-turn, went back in there, caught my fish, and I'm trying to process what happened. That's what I thought had blew them over, was the front that came through. But the last day when I went in there and they were back across, actually when I got to my second hole, I started fishing, and the tournament director called me, I guess because of the live that, they saw what happened. They called me, come to find out the St. John's River Authority Southern Division or something. I assumed they got a call or something that they were open. So they had shut it back. I didn't know that at the time. That's what they figured out by, making phone calls and figuring it out, trying to see if it was, somebody with authority that actually put them back, or if it was a local that went in there and shut it off or something. I don't know, but I can't alter with it, so
Right.
I couldn't mess with it. It's closed, so I had to go back to plan B and run across the lake and do what the next thing I thought was I needed to do to catch bass.
Man, that's a mindset of a champion right there, because everybody on the planet is going to get absolutely spun out when they show up, and now you can't access the water that you want to access, man. And being able to keep a level head and immediately shift gears without breaking all your equipment and having a complete meltdown out there. Maybe you did have a meltdown, Zach. I don't know. Did you keep it together?
I didn't have a meltdown. No, I just, there's nothing you can do at that point. So like, I can't get upset or mad about it.
Yeah.
I just have to go straight to the next thing. That's the best thing that in my head that I thought needed to do. I needed to make decisions quick and, get back on some fish. And, unfortunately, but fortunately, it took me, most of the day to figure out a place where I could get some more bites and make good decisions again. And, thankfully I got in that canal and I got more bites, enough to win. But, don't get me wrong. I was stressed out. I'm getting older. I'm getting better at, keeping my composure. Cause if this was 4 or 5 years ago, I'd have been so like, I would have blown a gasket for sure.
Oh man, I'm blowing a gasket thinking about it. Like, can I jump the buoys? Like that would have been my first thought. Just drive them, drive the buoys. But you were smart to not do that. I mean, I didn't see any no fishing signs on the image that I saw with the buoys across.
Yeah, though, and that was the other thing that we verified when, we talked about it from the day before, because I had the same camera guy for 2 days, and he was with me the first day, and then he was with me again that last day. And both of us, we talked about it. We went in there was no signage anywhere. There's no signage on a buoy, no signage around the buoys anywhere on a pole. There's no fishing signs anywhere in there. And of course, if there was a no fishing sign, obviously we couldn't have fished it. That would have been a sign that, hey, stay out. We can't go in there. Would have never, went in. So once we talked about that, I was like, well, I mean, we've done nothing wrong. We went in there, fished, and, Brad and them said the same thing, you're good. But we can't alter the buoy. So I couldn't, the last day, there was nothing I could do. Like, I can't jump them, can't get on the other side of them if they're up. So I could cast over them. I could pull up to them and cast, but I didn't catch any fish right there. All the fish that I caught were around the corner, and there's like a little bitty island back there. And from there was a lot of hydrilla that had grown up in there. And I went a little further, and, it's just, it was over with at that point. So we went fun fishing, and that was it.
Yeah, man. Well, hell of a recovery. Absolutely. And you're right. Like the canals, like I would have thought that offshore stuff. And I'm assuming it was post spawns, March, Florida, that post spawn offshore bite should have, I would have in my mind felt like that would have won the tournament. But the canals were, man, you pulled it off. You did it in the canals.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that I'm gonna focus a little more on next time we go back to some of the canals I've never been into. Um,
Mm,
in amongst all those lakes, there's a lot of them I've never explored in, looked around.
right.
And this tournament, there was a lot of fish that got caught in some canals, good ones too. And uh, it played more of a role than the lakes themselves. So, um, you know, you just next time we go back, it may not be like that though. But I do want to explore them, kind of feel them out, see what they look like. And
Hmm.
every time we go there too, or anywhere in Florida, the grass situation changes a lot. Um, that's it all varies every year depending on storms and what they spray, all that kind of stuff plays a factor. So we go back, it's always a little bit different, some form or fashion.
No, yeah, no doubt. We've seen the canals thrive in the cold fronts in January in the early season. I've seen the canals win and dominate, and then it seems like during the spawn and the post spawn, it's the other stuff. But rarely do we see big tournaments there in March and even in April, and it's really fun to see tournament trails visit
Yeah.
Florida later in the season, and look forward to seeing some of those come up. But I want to bring there's a really cool comment coming up about Ohio Bass Master says the shad spawn during the day was timed up with the moon being overhead in the middle of the day. Um, which is and he comments that that's independent of the weather. The moon phase is what caused those shad to activate, which is interesting. And interest a lot of people are moon phase nuts and plan their entire fishing experience around that moon phase. But that's a legitimate explanation. I don't know if it's accurate or not, guys, but that's a pretty cool explanation, Zach.
Right, right. Yeah, that didn't cross my mind, but that's a good thing I'll keep in mind moving forward, looking for them. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
It
Hmm.
is interesting. It's interesting. The moon definitely drives the spawn in a lot of different ways. Um, but I guess we'll look for that when we're out there. But you got another W, man. Your bank's swelled up, and you're doing good. And man, you almost did it again. You went back to Texas, and you almost did it again at the next MLF event.
Yeah, yeah, another good one. Again, it was the white swim jig. I threw that on Ivy. It's
What? The
it's
swim
funny. I
jig. It's just the
I
swim jig tour for you this year.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, for
amazing.
sure. It that may stop, going forward from here out, but uh Ivy's full of sticks, and like
Hmm.
if you want to catch a giant, you really need to be fishing out where you can't see the bottom 8, 9, 10, 12 foot. And that's where a bunch of them are spawning right now. You can't see them, and our format for that, it takes forever for, it would take us forever to find those fish and then try to focus on catching them, and all that. Whereas you got to be getting bit, right? So I couldn't really focus on that. I kept my active target on during practice to look for, if I could see a group of fish or any, fish following bait in the creeks and stuff, which I caught a few doing that. But um, every time I would pick up that white swim jig and get in the right areas, I'd catch a lot of like 2 to 3 pounders, and I caught a couple fours. I caught a six. Um, but when I figured that out, saw how tough it was to catch them other ways, I thought, you know what? Got a lot of confidence in the swim jig right now. I'm gonna keep chunking and winding it, and I did that the first 2 days on Ivy, and I caught enough to have a good cushion, and knew I was gonna make it to Brownwood. Um, and I didn't go practice Brownwood either. I rigged up, a handful of rods just like I did with Waco.
Bet you
And
there
then
was a
right after,
swim jig in that bunch that you rigged
there
up.
was a few swim jigs. Yep, and there was a few chatterbaits, and ultimately there, what happened was I ended up catching them on a chatterbait up shallow. First period was fantastic. Second period was a little bit slower, and the third period was fairly slow too. But I caught enough the first period to make it to the championship day, and it after the first period, I put almost all my rods up except for a chatterbait and swim jig. I had like 3 rods on the deck, which felt great. But man, that last day, um, and going into this event too, I knew like Wheeler is going to be super hard to beat for AOI, like always. And he slipped up on a top 10 at the last event, which is rare for him. So I knew that if I needed, like, if I wanted to stay in contention whatsoever the rest of the year, I need to make top 10. Like, I've got to make it. So I I got lucky, made it to the top 10 there, but the last day was just, it was rough on me. I lost one right off the bat. It was a good one. And I jumped off 3 or 4 fish, but overall, the fish just didn't bite good the last day. And, you know, I, I didn't execute well. I didn't get them in the boat, and I just didn't get many bites in general. So those are all 3 bad scenarios for having a shot at winning. But I finished 8th, got good points. I think Wheeler's got me about 3 points now. So we're still close in contention. Anything can happen, but at least now I don't have to go into the tournament thinking, hey, I'm leading. How do I maintain the lead? It's more like, all right, now this dog's gonna hunt, and I gotta fight, and get back. So, top 10s the rest of the year, hopefully, and we'll put ourselves at a shot at
So
it.
you came in 8th in the last BPT event.
Yeah.
Oh, I might have said 3rd on live, so I bumped you up there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I wish it was 3rd, but no.
My words don't reflect the check. But,
yeah,
we'll call the tournament director, see if we can get that adjusted for Zach. We need to move him up to 3rd for this event.
Yeah.
Well, you said something really cool, because we always wrestle with this. I want to hear your perspective on it, Zach. Swim jig, chatterbait, spinnerbait. When are you picking which bait? Like, what, you switched to the chatterbait in Texas? What's the scenario where you're picking one over the other?
So a lot of it depends on what I'm fishing around. I've got a lot of confidence in chatterbait, in a chatterbait, as far as just covering water, making a lot of casts, all kind of various situations. But when I get around a bunch of sticks and stuff, it can be complicated to throw with any kind of wind too, because it bumps something and it rolls over and it sticks it pretty easy. So it can get frustrating real fast. So that's when I'll go to like a spinnerbait or a swim jig for just ease of getting a bait through stuff and not getting hung up. So I basically just play with them back and forth, like which one I feel like is going to be better. If it's clean water, I can throw a chatterbait around. I prefer to throw that for a confidence factor. But then there's times when I just can't. So I'll throw a spinnerbait, especially if the wind's blowing a little harder, or a swim jig. And I just kind of rotate them based on the conditions that day, what I'm fishing around, what the wind and weather's like, and that's really about it.
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma we always seem to find ourselves in. But there's no doubt that the weedless nature of the swim jig and spinnerbait certainly is a big factor in making that adjustment. And doesn't seem to matter to you, because you're going to make that right adjustment, man. You're just going to keep doing that the way things are going right now. So I hope it keeps going for you. What's the next tournament on the schedule for you?
We got Red Crest. I leave next week for it, so we'll go do that, and then we turn around, and I think if NPFL keeps their schedule for Wright Patman the same, I'll be going straight to there. But that lake's down low, and I think they're going to draw it down more to do some dam repairs or something. So there's a chance it might get rescheduled or taken to a different lake or something.
Where's Red Crest? Is that Table Rock?
Yeah, it's at Table Rock. Kind of excited to go fish that. I think it'll be a good event. Be a lot of fish caught, I believe, and
probably looking at them, I would guess, right?
Real good chance. Yep. But that depends on if it's we have to be catching a lot, right? So we can't die on bedfish. But if there's a way we can manage to catch fish, that aren't bedfish, that's probably what I'll be looking more at. And don't get me wrong, if I see one, I'm gonna pitch to it a few times, but if she ain't right, I'm gonna go right on by her.
Yeah. It's
Well,
another opportunity for the sunglasses to play.
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
That's right.
For sure.
has TikTok contacted you for the Zack Birge signature series, Zach?
No, they haven't.
Somebody needs to. Somebody
Hey,
needs
I
to.
just my wife linked the sunglasses to her TikTok account, so I shared that the other day. And hey, if y'all want sunglasses, go to her deal and click on the link.
I like it. I like it a lot. Well, we look forward to. Well, that's the other thing you're going to have to look for now. You're going to have to look for the midday moon in the sky shad spawn going on over there at Table Rock. Maybe that'll play again for you this year. They're certainly not done with the spawns, but
No.
well, you're having a great season. It's fun to watch, man. It's really cool, and we appreciate you being on Bash U. You just keep winning, so we got to keep having you on, Zach. You got to keep doing it.
Yeah, I'll give them hell. I'll promise you that. Hopefully, we'll be back on here.
Yeah, well, we'll have you on no matter what. We'd love to get you in the Bash University classroom talking about some of this stuff and because you're power fishing and you're power fishing in the face of a lot of forward facing sonar stuff. We've seen power fishing win on the Elite Series. You're doing it effectively, but you're using both, right? We heard you discuss you're using that front sonar when you can.
Yeah.
How are you folding that in? Are you are you I know you're a power fishing guy, but I guess like anything, you're just letting the conditions dictate to you. How are you folding your forward facing periods into your fishing?
Yeah, so like with BPT, we can use it for one period, and that's
Yep.
it. So you also have to go into each event with basically two game plans. One, is forward facing sonar going to be a tool that you can utilize this week? And two, you have to have a backup, a way to catch them without using it. So you got to have a power fishing or fishing in general game plan that you can catch fish doing. But then if there's and it doesn't happen everywhere we go, but if there's places we go where there's going to be a strong opportunity to use your forward facing, then you gotta utilize it when you can, and you gotta catch as many as you can during that period. And then once it's over, you got to go back to game plan two and just go fishing. And that's kind of what I look at each event for BPT. And like I said, there's places we go where it's not a factor, and there's places we go where like the guys that are really really good with it, they're going to blast them in that one period, probably enough to not catch another bass the rest of the day, and they'll still manage to get by. So when you're looking at being able to use it for one period of your three, when you go into practice somewhere, like I keep it on and I'm looking as I'm fishing and trying to figure out how to catch fish, trying to figure out what the fish are doing, what they want. But I'm also aware of my surroundings. Is there bait in these drains with fish following them? Are they floating around boat docks where I can catch them using it? Just every different scenario that you could possibly think of, you got to be aware of and look at it during practice.
I know Drew Gill. He's interesting to me because he spends the majority of his practice time looking for that scope bite, that forward bite, because that's what that's his forte, and then almost looks for the shallow bite during the tournament. How do you split up your practice time?
Kind of like I mentioned, I do more fishing. Well, I do a lot of looking, like riding around, hit this for 5 minutes. That looks good. Let me go try that for 5 minutes. But I'm always looking at my screen too, and trying to be aware of my surroundings, where the bait's at, if there's fish on bait. If I'm around docks, obviously I'm looking up under the docks and seeing if there's a lot of fish on them, if they're tucked up under there, or if I'm bringing a bait by docks and they're not eating it, can I skip a Cinco or something under there and watch them come over to it and eat it? any scenario like that, because, you know, like you said, Drew, like that's his forte. He's incredible with it, and he can figure out a way to utilize it about anywhere. I'm not that great with it, but I feel confident I can catch fish with it when I need to. So I just, you know, I try to just stay aware of everything and look at, you know, all that different scenarios that could play out, and get a game plan put together for the tournament so I can, you know, have the best potential outcome.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me because I'm planning on jumping into a few BFLs this year, and they have that 3-hour window for us to work with. So I'm having to figure out how to fold that kind of strategy into my tournament thinking this year. A lot of guys are, but we're just going to put on a swim jig, I think, is really the answer to the question. And follow Zack around. I just want to congratulate you again, man, on 2 amazing wins and a great season so far. Wish you all the best, and thanks again, man. It's great having you on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all having me.
You bet. You bet. Zack Birge, the champ, is with us again, Riz. My goodness, that swim jig. It wins so much.
Yeah. It's a good one. And I don't know how closely you were paying attention to that white one, but it had something super unique in that swim jig. Well, not super unique, but there was something going on in that white swim jig. Did you pick up on it?
Well, I saw some color flashes in there on that. Is that what you're referring to? I noticed that.
Yeah. The tinsel, baby.
Yeah.
Tinsel in the white was shining. Tinsel was shining in the white. But the green pumpkin one, he had some red strands, but they were not tinsel. But the white shad spawn, there was tinsel.
I'm gonna go back and look at that now because I thought I saw some like bluish or maybe even blue. There were some other strands in there that offered a little bit of color to break up the color pattern a little bit.
Yep. That's a whole nother topic and discussion. We could have a whole nother swim jig show just about skirts and material and, you know, head shapes, and it's always fun. Yeah. It's fun talking about swim jigs, obviously, because we all know and love them. So yeah, man, swim jigs. Just throw a swim jig. Pretty much from now until October, November, you can throw a swim jig and catch them everywhere in the country.
Yes, you can. Yeah, apparently, that's true. Well, we're going to keep putting that to the test, and we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back talking some more swim jigs, I guess.
Yeah, we're going to take a commercial break. There it is.
We're off the clock to clock more fish, to fill our live wells and empty our coolers, because there's more to explore. The latest Humminbird fish finders work fast, see clearly, and know all the best spots. They fish even smarter paired with the Minn Kota and break down the water like never before. If you like your plans loose and lines tight, then it's time to explore. Only with Humminbird. Get right to the fight. New Mega Live 2 forward-facing sonar puts you on more fish with an ultra-clear, rock-solid picture of underwater action. Next-gen clarity, next-level fun. Only with Humminbird.
Whitewater Fishing Gear. We build gear for the days that test your commitment. The ones launching before daylight, staying out when the wind picks up, and fishing through conditions most guys avoid. Engineered for protection, mobility, and all-day comfort. Built to perform when conditions turn rough, so you stay focused on the pursuit no matter how the elements shift. Whitewater Fishing Gear, built to brave the waves.
When the sun's up and the bite's on, clarity is everything. That's why serious anglers trust Redfin. Built for the water, designed for performance. Lightweight frames, crystal clear optics, and rugged durability that stands up to long days on the water. Thanks to Zeiss Repel technology, water, oil, and even sunscreen just slides right off the lenses. Your vision stays crystal clear. See more, fish smarter, and protect your eyes with Redfin. Redfin polarized sunglasses. Comfort, clarity, contrast.
Mother Nature may be tough. I'm tougher. I'll take you where chaos is the cost of entry and where the fish are worth the fight. Because the bigger the question marks, the better the quest.
Pete, do you know this movie?
Vegas.
That is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, and apparently Zach and I wish I knew the actor's name. I probably do if I thought of it long enough.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. They are on the same wavelength with what they're. Johnny Depp might have been seeing different things in that movie than what Zach's seeing on the water, but hell, it's working for both of them. So
yeah, hey, I'm sticking with my Redfins.
Yeah,
but
with the Redfin. Well, Redfin might come out with that lens color.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Yeah. I might have to throw a pair in the boat just for luck. It seems to be working pretty good.
Yeah.
But been out fishing a bunch. Man, oh man, I tell you, the weather is so ferocious around here. It's springtime, so we get 80 degrees one day and we get 30 degrees the next. And I am loving the whitewater super lightweight what's the word, insulated jacket, I guess is I don't have the exact name. It's a hoodie zip up. It's super lightweight and it is so unbelievably warm. And that would, in conjunction with my windbreakers, just been dealing with that incredibly cold weather. So I love the mobility, the lightweight, and enjoying the heck out of that in the springtime. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. This weather's just crazy, and it's like 20-mile-an-hour winds every day. Riz.
It's nice to have a system when it comes to your outerwear and your gear, and kind of it's just like anything else. Like you can't just slap one thing on and say that this is going to cover me for all scenarios. You really can't. You're not going to get max performance when you do that. And they do a really good job at Whitewater of working all the way up from the base layer to your outermost shell and keeping that mobility throughout. And from the Thermocline series to their Great Lakes jackets to their hoodies, they have performance and cotton hoodies. So whichever you like better. They got you covered there. Hey, for Bash U, there's a member's benefit to save some money on your whitewater gear. And I'm loving it too, Pete. I can't run out of good things to say about their whole product line. I mean, we're wearing their Rapids button-up shirts right now. It's comfortable, looks clean. So check it out. You look good, you feel good, you fish good. So
you look good, you feel good, you fish good. I like it. We're download the Bash U app, guys. Have you done that yet? Go ahead and download the app. You're gonna love the experience. Everybody was talking about it down at the Classic, and that's super awesome. We look forward to all the great feedback. Keep it coming, guys. And we have. And it's a great user experience, but the main thrust of Bash U is guys like Zack Birge and the great talent that teaches at Bash University are there at your fingertips, Rich. And we've had some amazing releases. You know what sticks out of my mind? I want to give a Cole Sands is a speaker that we work with because he's an incredibly good teacher, and obviously he's an elite series angler, and it just scored a nice top 10 in the last Elite Series tournament. So it was great to see that.
Yeah, we had a lot of instructors wrapped around that, top field for the recent Elite Series. Cole Sands came in 10th. We've We've done a ton with him. Lee Livesey came in 11th. Him and Cole actually had the same weight, and the tiebreaker went to biggest fish in the bag for the final day, I believe. But either way you slice it, Cole made the top 10. Lee came in 11th. But again, we got a lot of stuff with Lee. And Dakota Ebear had a really nice finish. I believe he finished in the top 5. And we just released last week a seminar with Dakota, Elite Series Learning Experience. And he talks a lot about how in his 2025 season, the road was rough at start. And he kind of found he found his mojo towards the end of the year and started racking up those high finishes. And boy, is he just continuing on down that road. Dakota's really, really shining right now. And Hunter Shryock had a great event at the Tom Bigby Waterway as well. And he's who we're releasing this week, Pete. This is a fun seminar that we're putting out this week. It's an on the water and it's punching. It's big rod, big line, straight braid, punching in the grass. That bite's going to be coming on strong in the southeast part of the country here real soon. Once those fish get done spawning and that grass gets up high, boy, they're going to be in it. And you're not going to want to miss it. It's action-packed, straight braid, big rod, big hook sets. Hunter Shryock punching. Stay tuned for it this Thursday, Bass University.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. We have a nice trend towards a lot of power fishing, getting out there and getting it done.
Yep.
And that's awful fun to see. But it's been great. It's been great at Bash U. We're gonna great to have Zach with us. We've got some really this must be the Bash U sub of the week. This is
the sub of the week. That's Josh P with an absolute toad in the sticks, just like Zach was just talking about with us, Pete. This guy's wearing waders, it appears. He's out there getting after it. Fish might have been caught on a swim jig. I don't know. Todd, Josh P, if you're tuned in right now, dude, let us know what you caught that on. That's a freaking big one right there.
Yeah, this is I saw this post come across my my feed, and he caught this fish actually, Rich, last year.
Oh,
and he reposted it this year, but it slipped past us last year. We see you wearing Bash U swag, man. You're making sub of the week, and that fish looks like he's about 25 pounds, but it definitely seems to be a double-digit fish.
Yeah, big.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how big that fish actually was, but he probably was on a swim jig. But what's up, Chuck Fish? Good to have you with us, buddy. Michael Moore checking in. Guys, it's been great. We look forward to catching up with all you guys next week on another edition of Bass University Live. I hope you guys get out there and do some fishing, take advantage of this amazing spring weather that we're having right now. They're catching, we just mentioned 6-pounders are coming in from Lake St. Clair all the way down to Florida and Texas and everywhere in between right now. So get out there, get some fishing done, boys, and we will see you next week at Bass University Live.